Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today we're diving deep into one of the most fascinating pieces of American coinage history, the 1970 Washington quarter. At first glance, this coin might seem like just another ordinary quarter you could find in your pocket change. But when we peel back the layers of history, rarity, collector intrigue, and astonishing auction prices tied to Washington quarters as a whole, we start to realize that this simple 25-cent piece carries stories worth thousands of dollars. Collectors across the world hunt down certain variations of the 1970 quarter, not only for the nostalgia tied to the era it was minted, but also because of its place within the broader lineage of Washington quarters that began in 1932. To appreciate the 1970 quarter fully, we must first step back and revisit how the Washington quarter itself came into being, why it has remained one of the most iconic coins in American circulation, and how even common-looking examples can turn out to be priceless treasures in the right condition. The Washington quarter was first minted in 1932 to commemorate the 200th anniversary of George Washington's birth, replacing the Standing Liberty quarter that had circulated since 1916. While the Standing Liberty design was beloved, by the late 1920s it was showing signs of wear issues and design complexity, so the U.S. Mint sought a simpler but equally dignified design. The Treasury Department, in collaboration with Congress, agreed that a portrait of the first president would be a fitting tribute for the bicentennial celebration. Sculptor John Flanagan was chosen to create the design, and his portrait of Washington facing left has remained on the coin for decades with only slight modifications. The reverse featured the majestic bald eagle, wings outspread, standing proudly with arrows and olive branches beneath, a symbol of America's balance of strength and peace. From the very start, the Washington quarter was not just money, it was a patriotic statement struck into silver. By 1965, however, things began to change dramatically for U.S. coinage. Rising silver prices forced the mint to alter the metal composition of dimes and quarters, shifting from 90% silver and 10% copper to a clad composition of copper and nickel. This was a turning point for the Washington quarter series and laid the groundwork for coins like the 1970 quarter. The new clad coins had a copper core sandwiched between outer layers of nickel, giving them durability but also a very different ring compared to their silver predecessors. Collectors lamented the loss of silver, but the switch was necessary to keep quarters affordable and practical for circulation. By the time we arrive at 1970, the Washington quarter had been circulating for nearly 4 decades, but the numismatic world had shifted. No longer were these coins made of precious silver, and yet they still carried immense collector appeal due to their design, history, and, in some cases, fascinating minting errors. The year 1970 itself was an iconic period in American history, marked by cultural transformation, political unrest, and economic changes that were reflected even in small details like coinage. The mint struck the 1970 quarters at multiple facilities, including Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco, with the latter producing proof coins. Each of these mints left subtle differences, from mint marks to strike quality, which are critical for collectors. The 1970 D Washington quarter, for instance, is widely known and circulated, but some examples with errors, like double dies or struck on wrong planchets, have become legendary. Proof coins from San Francisco, especially the 1970 S quarters, are highly sought after in pristine condition. Some collectors even search for rare, proof overstrike errors, where quarters were struck over foreign coins such as Canadian quarters, making them extremely rare finds that command jaw-dropping prices at auction. What makes the Washington quarter series so captivating to collectors is not just its design, but the way individual years carry their own unique stories. The 1970 quarter may not be made of silver, but its rarity in certain conditions, coupled with the historical context of the 1970s and its minting peculiarities, elevate it from a simple piece of pocket change to a treasure trove of numismatic interest. In fact, across the history of Washington quarters, some examples have sold for hundreds of thousands of dollars at auction, with certain rare errors and high-grade coins reaching astonishing levels, a point we'll explore in detail as we progress through this discussion. For now, let's continue digging deeper into the specifics of the 1970 quarter itself, its varieties, its features, and why even a seemingly ordinary coin can hide extraordinary value. As we move deeper into the story of the 1970 Washington quarter, it's important to understand why collectors view this year as more than just a transitional point in the broader series. While millions of quarters were minted in 1970, making them relatively common in circulation, what separates ordinary examples from extraordinary ones are the subtle details. To the untrained eye, every quarter may look the same: George Washington's profile on the obverse, the eagle on the reverse, and that familiar metallic shine, but numismatists know that the devil is always in the details. The 1970 quarter comes in three major mint varieties: the Philadelphia issue with no mint mark, the Denver issue with the D mint mark, and the San Francisco proof issue with the S mint mark. Each of these mints produced different quantities, with Denver striking the largest number for circulation, while San Francisco focused on proof coins intended for collectors. Proofs from the San Francisco Mint are particularly interesting because they were struck with extra care, polished dies, and high-quality planchets, resulting in sharp details and mirrored surfaces that appeal to collectors who crave perfection. But beyond mint marks and surface quality, era coins from 1970 are some of the most remarkable and valuable pieces you could ever hope to find. Perhaps the most famous error associated with this year is the 1970 S-proof Washington quarter struck over a 1941 Canadian quarter. Imagine that, a modern American coin struck over a foreign coin nearly 3 decades older. The result is a hybrid piece of history, with faint traces of the Canadian design peeking through beneath Washington's portrait. Very few of these errors exist, and they have commanded tens of thousands of dollars at auction. This kind of rarity transforms the ordinary into the extraordinary and keeps collectors hunting through proof sets and old rolls in hopes of uncovering a hidden gem. Another feature collectors obsess over is die varieties, such as double dies, repunched mint marks, and other striking anomalies. Even a small doubling of the letters Liberty, or In God We Trust, can skyrocket a coin's value far beyond face value. That's the thrill of numismatics, knowing that an everyday coin could, under the right circumstances, be worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars if it possesses one of these unique traits. The 1970 Washington quarter, in this sense, is a playground for collectors who thrive on details. And while 1970 itself is important, it's also vital to place it within the broader Washington quarter series. Since 1932, Washington quarters have been collected not just year by year, but also by mint mark, condition, and special varieties. High-grade examples, those that have never circulated and remain in pristine mint state condition, often sell for astonishing prices. When graded by professional services like PCGS or NGC, a coin's grade can make the difference between a modest value and a life-changing sum. For example, an ordinary circulated 1970 D quarter might only be worth a few dollars to a collector, but a flawless proof-like example in top condition could bring hundreds. Now, let's pause here for a moment to reflect on the bigger picture, the market for Washington quarters as a whole. Over the years, some of the most spectacular Washington quarter sales have taken place at major auctions. In fact, certain rare issues and era varieties have broken into the six-figure range. The highest prices for Washington quarters in general have topped over $100,000, depending on the rarity, grade, and demand. For example, the 1932 D and 1932 S quarters in mint state condition are considered key dates and can fetch enormous sums. Additionally, dramatic mint errors, such as coins struck on the wrong planchet or double denominations, have shocked the market with hammer prices most collectors could only dream of. It's in these records that the Washington quarter as a series proves its strength. A simple 25-cent piece, when paired with rarity and condition, can be worth more than a luxury car or even a small house. The 1970 quarter may not have reached those astronomical six-figure heights yet, but its reputation is bolstered by the broader Washington quarter legacy. Knowing that the series has a proven track record of jaw-dropping auction results makes every collector look at their 1970 quarters a little differently. Could that coin in a proof set, or the one sitting in a drawer, be one of those rare errors or flawless specimens that commands thousands? That sense of possibility keeps collectors engaged and fuels the ongoing demand for these coins. As we come to the end of our deep dive into the fascinating story of the 1970 Washington quarter, it's clear that this coin is far more than just a piece of everyday change. On the surface, it may seem ordinary, one of the countless quarters minted and circulated during the late 20th century. Yet, beneath its familiar design lies a world of history, craftsmanship, collector intrigue, and the possibility of extraordinary value. From its origins as part of a series that began in 1932 to commemorate George Washington's bicentennial, to its role as a bridge between the silver era and the modern-clad coinage, the 1970 quarter holds a special place in numismatic history. Its varieties, the Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco issues, offer collectors different challenges, whether they're hunting for pristine mint state examples, proof coins with mirror-like brilliance, or elusive error strikes that make headlines at major auctions. And while the majority of these coins are still worth little more than face value, the chance of discovering a rare error, such as the legendary 1970 S struck over a 1941 Canadian quarter, is the thrill that drives collectors to examine every piece closely. Beyond its individual significance, the 1970 quarter serves as a reminder of the broader Washington Quarter Series potential. Over the decades, certain quarters have shattered expectations, with auction records climbing into the tens of thousands, even exceeding $100,000 for the rarest and most desirable examples. This demonstrates the incredible potential hidden in even the most familiar denominations. The 1970 quarter may not be the single most valuable date in the series, but it symbolizes the possibilities that lie in every coin, the possibility that a simple, everyday object could turn out to be a rare treasure. For collectors, this is what makes numismatics so captivating: history, rarity, and value all converging in the palm of your hand. So, if you come across a 1970 Washington quarter, whether in your pocket change, an inherited collection, or a forgotten proof set, take the time to study it. Look for errors, check its condition, and if you think you've found something unusual, consider having it professionally graded. You never know, what might look like an ordinary coin could be a hidden gem worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars. That's the magic of coin collecting, the potential for discovery, the connection to history, and the thrill of the chase. And with that, we wrap up our journey through the world of the 1970 Washington quarter. I hope you've enjoyed learning about its history, features, rarity, and market value as much as I've enjoyed sharing it with you. If you found this video informative and engaging, please don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so you won't miss future deep dives into the fascinating world of coins. Every like, comment, and subscription helps us bring more content your way and keeps this community of passionate collectors growing. Thank you for watching, and until next time, happy collecting!